Welcome to the GTP. My name is Scott, where we talk all things manga. In this video, we're going to talk about the 12 recently announced titles from Sakura-Con 2024 Yen Press panel and share from the perspective of someone who's actually in the audience for the panel itself. So I'm going to share with you not only each title that was announced, whether it was a manga, a manhwa, or a light novel, as well as I'm going to share with you what did I think about it, what was the perspective, how did people react in the audience, because there's oftentimes something will be said that everyone else in the crowd was getting excited, and I was like, what title is this? I had to quickly look it up. I'm like, oh, I should be excited about this as well. And then what was neat is I get to share with you what was it like hearing from the panel hosts themselves talk about each title, as the snippets we get from the news usually doesn't do it justice from someone who's read the series already and then they share about it. So go ahead and sit back, relax, grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, and let's go ahead and talk about this amazing experience. First title that was announced was Dark Demon of Paradise. Ichino's blood is Oni, and his father is Mokotora. Normally, with those, blood hunt the Oni, but his father refused to kill him as an infant. Instead, he is adopted and raised despite the rebellious attitude and dangerous temper that comes with Oni blood. This is an action-packed manga with a main character who is headstrong and uses his Oni blood anytime he's in a fight. Now what's interesting is this sounded a lot like the manga Demon Slayer, except it's almost like you're following the demons as they use their demon blood when they went and battled it out. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. It's one that I thought was actually pretty interesting, and there were a couple claps in the audience when they made this announcement. Now the next manga announcement was from Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman. I recommended Master Barrel as a knight special instructor. In a village in the remote countryside, Barrel meticulously ruins a fencing dojo. One day he's paid a visit by his former pupil, now grown in the Kingdom Knights commander, and Barrel decides to follow her to the royal capital to become a special instructor for the knights. As he's pulled into reunions with his accomplished and eager apprentices, what does fate have in store for Barrel? Now the panel host did a great job, I thought, when they shared that this is a very wholesome series with amazing art panels and action sequences. What's nice they said about this series as well, it's not one of those main characters that has a cheat skill. He's in a different world, all of a sudden he uses magic. No, this is a person that has just trained and trained and trained and trained to get where they are. They didn't just wake up one day, pick up a sword that was magical, and now they're the strongest ever. But no, this person is very strong, but it's through hard work and grit that got him there. So this is one I'm also looking forward to checking out, that's on my radar just from just a little bit that they share. I always am looking for another wholesome manga series. Now the next announcement was when the Villainous seduces the main heroine. When the Crown Prince announces he's breaking off his engagement to the infamous Akui, his spurred fiancée wastes no time turning her seductive words of passion to her actual target, a commoner who worked her way up through the ranks with her wit and charm alone, and the very girl the prince dumped. Now when they announced this title, there was a ton of claps in the audience for this. The nice things they share that it's actually only 2 volumes. It is a Yuri series, and they said it is a very spicy romantic comedy for those who are into Yuri stories. Next up, we have the JoJo series Pink and Habanero. I want a boyfriend too. When Mei, who has no experience talking to boys and even less who with love, meets Kai. When she starts high school, the wrong sorts of sparks fly. He might be super good looking, but he treats girls like trash. Mei has no patience for his rude attitude, but when she coincidentally discovers his secret part-time job, she might just have to learn to keep his trust. Now, lots of people were excited. Maybe there was more people excited about this series other than one other we'll talk about in a bit. People were so stoked for this JoJo series. About this guy, I believe he works at a sweet shop, so it's one that's on my radar. I actually have never heard of this series before, but I I was surprised how many people were so stoked for this announcement. And even more, I was like, I should be stoked for this myself. The next titles announced was called Spring Storm and Monsters. High school freshman's sole desire in life is to keep her head down and get by with as little human interaction as possible. It's working well until a random guy is literally hurled into her path. The one responsible, a guy she later finds out is her new stepbrother. How exactly is she supposed to live with such a creepy jerk who seemingly has a percent for violence? In Spring Storm and Monster, we have a very introverted, caring lead female for the protagonist. This is actually an award-winning series, and it's from the same author that gave us Stray Cat and Wolf earlier last year. So it's really neat to see Yen Press go ahead and provide us more manga from the same author. So if you'd like Stray Cat and Wolf, my guess this one's gonna be up your alley as well. Now the next announcement we have is a light novel called Hero Syndrome. Heroes bristle with the power that can protect and save everyone. And these young men and women battle monsters in their dreams, doing their glorious goddess bidding, never realizing that the monsters they fight are actually humans. Now this sounded like a very intriguing light novel, as you have these two protagonists are in conflict with each other, and then somehow along the way you know they're going to have to team up and work together against a common enemy. Next is another light novel called Even a Replica Can Fall in Love. When she doesn't feel well, when there's a test, when she doesn't want to go to school, I take her place. I'm her replica. I'm not meant for anything else. But that changed when I fell in love. Now this is very interesting. It's almost like, think of the idea if you could clone yourself and then you had that clone, or in this case that replica, do the things you didn't want to do. So let's say you had to clean the house, you just let the replica do that. If you had to mow the lawn, you let the replica do that. And that way you can just sit home, you could relax, you can read a book. You have to take a test that you don't want to take, you let the replica do that. You have to go on some boring meeting, you let the replica do that. So think of that for this story, but what's interesting in this is that the replica ends up, as it's going to school, it begins to take on its own personality. And its personality is not the exact same as the real person. So that replica, when it goes to school, it starts falling in love with this boy, and it has to let its nose, hey, when I pull my hair back, that's when you know it's me and not the other person. Now what's interesting is when the real person goes to school, not the replica, they don't have the same memories as a replica, so they're seeing things through a different angle. They might be like, why is this boy talking to me so much? What do they think is going on? There shouldn't be anything going on. I mean, they're not telling, the main person's not telling them, hey, I have this replica. So I thought this was very interesting, and the illustrations just looked phenomenal from the cover itself. Next up, we have another light novel, Victoria of Many Faces. In an age when spies act behind the scenes in every land, Chloe spends her days successfully carrying out even the most difficult missions due to her unparalleled disguise skills and martial art abilities. After a betrayal of her boss, she suddenly disappears as Chloe plans to redo her life as an ordinary citizen, Victoria, in a neighboring kingdom. However, Victoria's peaceful life is abruptly cut short as she begins to get involved with many people. In this new land, her experiences and abilities from her days as a spy come in far more useful than she ever expected. Now this light novel series sounds like a ton of fun as you're following this main character that just got kind of tired of being a spy, didn't want that lifestyle anymore, and decided to go ahead and move to a peaceful life. And like so many times before, we can't necessarily run from our past, and it comes back to us in different ways. And along this journey, the main character actually finds this young girl that was abandoned, and she chooses to take this girl in and raise her on her own, using those skills and abilities as a spy to now help her out in this new setting. Next up is one that probably needs no introduction. People were so excited, as I was excited myself, just because I love the anime, and that was the announcement of 86 Alter. They were in the midst of youth, even on the battlefield. Shin, Lena, and her friends experienced brief moments of peace and happiness while facing certain death, enjoying a short break, plunging into battle once again and setting foot in the frigid United Kingdom for the first time. sharing these moments with their comrades, friends, lovers, and family. This is a collection of short stories following the many different side characters of 86. And if you haven't watched the anime, I highly recommend it. I heard the light novel is even better. And there are just many times, at least in the anime, that I was just moved to tears. And as they're talking back and forth to each other through the radios, you could tell just how strong the dialogue is, and that this dialogue wasn't just written for the anime, but oh, this is coming verbatim from the light novel itself. It was just so good. So beautiful, and it's actually, I'm tempted to pick up this light novel, as I would love to know a little bit more about the different side characters from this beautiful story. Next, we have another manga, Detroit Become Human, Tokyo Stories. 2038 Tokyo, artificial intelligence androids have started production. Even smarter and more beautiful than regular people, they steadily replace humans in various roles. However, unlike an anti-android America and Japan, the android idol wildly popularity seems to be a herald of a bright future for her kind. Though amidst these android deviants begin to appear, rejecting their duty for free will and real emotions, with a human girl as a thread, these deviants begin to spin a revolution in Japan. This manga is based similarly from the video game Detroit Become Human that came out a few years ago. Instead of seeing what was going on in that area, we're seeing what was happening on the side in Tokyo, Japan, as you see this robot revolution kind of rise up. So I'm very interested in reading the manga. There are some gasps in the audience when they made the announcement for this, and I think it's going to be a very interesting story. I love Pluto, which is another great, phenomenal manga, as you're seeing the AI robots have to coexist with the humans, different rules they have for each other, and how are they going to go ahead and coexist together? And I think this one's going to be very interesting and probably heart-gripping in itself. Next up, we have another manga announcement, Three-Body Problem. Amid China's Cultural Revolution in the 1960s, a covert military project establishes contact with an alien planet on the brink of destruction. This sets into motion the long and menacing journey to invade Earth. Meanwhile, a secret society is formed by the world's elite, broken into fractions with different motivations for aiding in this alien invasion, from saving the lives of their descendants to accelerating the destruction of humanity. Now, when this title was announced, there was a lot of gasps, shocks, claps, excitement in the audience, and I've never heard of this manga before. And I learned that there's a live action adaptation that just came out in late March on Netflix for the series. It has very good reviews, it has some of the writers of Lost, even though Lost gave a little tainted view in my mouth. I'm very excited to go back and actually watch this now, just seeing some of the writers on this. I heard this is just an amazing story of following this alien invasion that's happening. You have humans that are going and helping them kind of get ready for this invasion. So I'm very interested to see the plots, the twists, and the turns with this story, how it goes with the manga. I'm interested to compare that to the live action on Netflix. I hope it's good, but wow, people were so stoked and excited for this announcement. Now, the last announcement got the most applause and just cheers in the audience, and this is from the Eyes Press line, and it's a manhwa called Systematic Error. Computer science major Sang-woo values reason, routine, and rules above all. So when the rest of his classmates fail to contribute to the group presentation, he doesn't hesitate to cut everyone's names from the project entirely, including a design major, which ruins his plans to graduate and study abroad. This person is more than happy to return the favor and strives to become the biggest thorn in Sang-woo's side. But as they spend more time together, a strange attraction begins to develop between them. Will Sang-woo be able to debug the systematic error from his life? If you've been to college before, you may know the pain of having to be in a group project. Usually you're signed with people that you didn't pick for yourself as a partner, and then some people are doing more work than others. And it can be so frustrating when someone who didn't do any work wants to have their name on the project itself, and then they blame you for not graduating because you took them off the project because they didn't do any work. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. Again, there's more people excited about this manhwa than anything else that was announced from my perspective. Now, this is a BL story, and it sounds like as these have the tensions of trying to fight and combat each other, that slowly over time they end up developing feelings for each other. Now if you stuck to the end of this video, I'm excited to share with you the 2 manga options that they had for us who attended that panel. The first being the manhwa Unholy Blood. You've already heard me talk about great things about this vampire manhwa. And they also had Akko and Bambi as the other option. Now, if you've been following my channel, you know I already had this one. I didn't want a second copy of it. I thought of grabbing a second one for a giveaway if they gave both. Last year, they actually gave 2 manga. They gave actually a manhwa and a manga together. I hope they're going to do that, but they didn't. Even though they had tons of books, which was great. Akko and Bambi is a title that I grabbed. I'm excited to go ahead and read it to tell you more of this. This one wasn't on my radar at all. So my guess, like last year with What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, that wasn't on my radar at all. They gave that away, and now I own all the volumes that have come out so far. So that's all for this video. In the comments below, I'd love to know from you, which of these titles are you most excited to check out and pick up, potentially pre-order from Yen Press? Thank you so much for watching and just following this kind of fan experience. What was it like as someone who's in the audience listening to these announcements? What were other people excited about? And what I love about just seeing the excitement just all around, it gave more things for me to also be excited about as well. It was a phenomenal experience. If you ever get the chance, I highly recommend, if you go to a con, go to it, whether it's Kodansha, Yen Press, or Viz, go to a panel announcement. It's just so much fun. For the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.